Hi, everybody. This is Ty Bordoni, primary mediation trainer and a full-time mediator, director of the Mediation Center of Central Florida. Today I wanted to uh, let you all know one of the practical sides of being a mediator and what we do. And really it has to do with the non-professional parties in the rooms. And this is something that I've addressed before, and I think I've even made this kind of vlog about in the past. But I also train mediators, and I just trained mediators this last week, and this issue came up. That is, sometimes you're going to have uh, professionals in the room, and that's yourself and someone on each side, lawyers, and or this case, this was an insurance case, so you had the professional insurance carrier or the adjuster, forgive me, and they do this all the time. But the parties, one way or another, everybody is here for the non-professionals, right? Now everyone has a different duty to them, and everybody's neutral, the mediator, right? We don't have a dog in the fight, but I think it's important for us to keep a few things in mind where they're concerned, right? Um, for everybody else other than them, this is a job, right? And we tend to handle it sometimes in a very antiseptic way, but to them, it's really very important. It's either something they're going through in their lives, depending on the kind of mediation, and or in this case, if it's an insurance home, insurance claim, it's there's some insurance claim was denied in their home. And if we're anything like them, our homes are very important to us. So we sometimes, it's easy to forget what they may be going through, and one of the ways to make it easier on them is to recognize them appropriately. For instance, whether you're coming to an agreement or not, in this case, by the way, we didn't come to agreement. Not only did we not come to agreement, but we didn't come to agreement fast. So this is one of those cases where it was clear, it was apparent. Like I could tell, and all the professionals in the room could tell when you do it enough. This is one of those cases that it's for whatever reason it's not ready to come to agreement now. And so it seems like horse trading. It's very just matter of factly, cut and dry. But again, not to them, not to the in this case, the homeowner. So even at the beginning, not knowing how the case is going to go, when before I really give my opening statement, I'll look at the non-professionals and I'll say something like, by the way, everyone here, they've done this before, and so if sometimes the parties will just talk about things in industry specific terms, and you may not follow, you may not know what this term means or what the other term means. So if that happens, just stop us and ask us, and let's make sure that you know exactly what we're talking about. And you say that in any one of a number of different ways as may be appropriate depending on what it is that we're talking about. But I have found that the parties appreciate that, right? The non-professional parties. And the professional parties, they get it, they recognize it, and they appreciate it too. And already what the mediator is doing is what? You're building some rapport, right? That's a good thing. And you're making them feel comfortable. You're helping them get some buy-in, so to speak, right? When they trust your mediator, then they start to trust the process, and then they're going to be more open if you come on over with something that they were not open to hearing or seeing in the past. Anyway, that's one of the steps, right, that we start to build rapport. But more importantly, let them know that you see them, that you recognize that they're there. How else? I wrote a couple of things down, because in doing so, we're letting them know that they matter, right? That they're not just a number. Um, Recognize them as well, but respect the attorney client relationship, or the professional client relationship as well. What I mean by that is sometimes, especially new mediators, have this perspective. Well, I want to hear from the parties. Their perspective is most important. And I push back on that. Not that it's not accurate, not that that isn't important. It is important. But there's a reason that they sought out a professional, especially when there's an attorney. It's because they don't know what to say. They don't want to talk typically. And when they do want to talk, they will talk. They're going to make sure that they get heard. But a lot of times they're nervous, they're anxious, they're scared, and they're going to not say anything. But rather than say something like, you know what, I don't want to hear from your attorney. Let me hear what you have to say. The way I like to do that is I'll say something like, Mr. So and so, or Mr. and Mrs. So and so, after their attorney talks, I'll say, thank you, counsel, or to their representative, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And before I turn it over, Mr. So and so, or Mr. and Mrs. or Miss So and so, is there anything you'd like to add, or before I turn it over? And then I'll pause. And then they'll pipe up if they need to, right? If they want to, or they'll say, no, no, it's okay. And then you turn it over. Now, it takes a quick moment, but they see that you see them and they appreciate it. So that's a nice way of making sure that they recognize that they matter, but still we know what's probably going to happen is they're going to say no, usually. And if they don't, then they will. And then I'm not stepping on anyone's toes, but I'm making sure that they are being heard. If you see what I'm saying, right? How do you control the room? By not trying to control the room. FYI. And then always be positive, and even when there's no agreement to be reached, right? Is there something positive about no agreement? Absolutely there is. Now this case can move forward. Now the parties are closer to any kind of resolution that will be hopefully forthcoming, and then give it back to their professional, right? And your attorney or your professional, they're going to tell you and lead you the way from here. But just because we didn't come to agreement now doesn't mean it's not coming. It just means now wasn't the time. But I hope that that is coming for you. So be positive, even when there's no agreement to be reached. And then I always have this joke. I'll say something like, Mr. and Mrs. or Miss So and so or Mr. So and so, I hope I never see you again because you never have another problem mediation. And almost every single time they chuckle, they smile, they appreciate that, as will their representative. And then I'll turn it over and I'll say, so thank you so much. Have a great day. So if you see what I'm saying, let's remember to see them. They'll appreciate it. And one way or another, it helps the process. It helps you with your rapport. And it also helps because it stinks when we can't help folks, right? We like to help folks come to agreement, but the mediator has to recognize and understand as well. And it's hard, but it gets easier. Every mediation can't be in agreement, shouldn't be in agreement, right? What is it that makes sense in that moment, right then and there, right? That's what we have to help the parties get to, if it's possible. So I hope you see what I'm saying. I hope that helps in some regard, but keep on doing the good work that you do. You're a superhero. You make a difference. So keep making a difference, one mediation at a time, and hopefully in turn the world. And I will talk to you soon. Have a great new year, by the way. Bye-bye.